Hey YouTube, it's EvanMagician34, and I've got one of my favorite casual decks. A lot of people don't seem to know what this deck is, which is kind of surprising. It has been more successful in slower formats actually. It's a crazy rogue deck. And it revolves around this awesome card right here, Gearfried the Iron Knight. And what he does, it's real simple. He's an 1800, 1600, 4-star, and anytime an equipped card is on him, it's instantaneously destroyed. It's just a flat state-based effect. It doesn't even activate. And so what's cool about him is there are a couple of cards that interact with him directly, and you can kind of use them to get an early advantage in the game. So anyway, you definitely want to hit this guy as soon as possible. Basically, the combo is Smoke Grenade to the Thief, which is like a confiscation you don't pay for when it's destroyed. And this guy automatically destroys it. So that makes him focus. Summoner Monk goes and gets him for free, so this is basically your fourth copy of Gearfried. And a little less good, but still very cool version of that is Breaker the Magical Warrior, because he can destroy cards on either side of the field with his ability from his counter. Plus the ability just to +1 yourself off his ability just to pop your opponent's cards is still really good. So we are running 3 of him. Next up, some real disruption, preventing them from searching for other things. 3 copies of Thunder King Ryo. We're also running 2 copies of DD Warrior Lady. We don't have a lot of really big monsters in our deck, so we do need ways to control big, oversized monsters. Shooting Star Dragon, for instance, if it actually resolves on the other side of the field from you, it's a big problem, and you're going to be hard-pressed to get rid of it. DD Warrior Lady is a very good out to that. Plus, she can be searched with Reinforcement of the Army and Summoner Monk. So, good reasons to have her. We are running 1 copy of Iron Blacksmith Kotetsu, just 1, but he's a good early game set to go get you an extra copy of Smoke Grenade to the Thief. We're also running one copy of Exiled Force. You can Rhoda for it, and you can Summoner Monk for it. It's a good way to get rid of threats that actually can be destroyed by Destroy Effect. And this is kind of just an experimental version that's been thrown together, but I've actually had a lot of success with this guy, Don Zalug. He goes well with Blast with Chain. You can use that to pump him suddenly and kill things, deal damage, and the extra disruption to get rid of the rest of their hand after you Smoke Grenade them. He's actually quite good, and of course is very searchable too. Speaking of searching things, we're also running Sangan. He searches for a number of the aforementioned cards, and he also searches for this guy, the final monster in your lineup. Basically, since you're going to know what's in your opponent's hand and you've disrupted threats of your choice, this guy helps finish them off. It doesn't really matter what they summon. If he can keep bouncing them, he's also a good answer to very big monsters. So, a very good all-around card to have in here. On to the spells. We're running 3 copies of Smoke Grenade to the Thief. Basically, like I said, once this card is face up and active, if it's destroyed by any effect, it lets you look through your opponent's hand and discard a card of your choice. And that's really awesome. It gets around accidentally hitting things like Dandelion or whatnot that your opponent would want to see in the grave because you're picking it. And it's not just monsters, it's anything. Definitely a card you are happy to see in your opening hand, especially with Gearfried. Since Mind Crush is only at 1, we are running 1 copy of DD Designator. It's name a card, search your opponent's hand, remove from play a copy of the card if it's there. If you shoot blindly with it and don't hit a card in their hand that you know of, like you guess wrong, you have to remove one in your own hand at random, which is bad. But that's why we're going to search their hand with Smoke Grenade first. But it's easy to predict these days anyway. So, alright, and this is the only really expensive part of the entire deck, 3-Potted Duality. I'm including it because it makes a lot of sense. And if you own it, it's a lot of fun to run with this deck because it gives you a lot of consistency, like it gives consistency to everything. If you don't have it, don't sweat it because this is basically a really budget deck otherwise. You can replace this. You could run something like Pigeonholing Book of Spell, but really, I would recommend Magical Mallet's probably the best replacement for this in this deck. Also in Gravekeepers, but that's another video. So if you don't have this, don't sweat it. You can either just run more support cards, maybe an extra monster and 2 spell or trap cards additionally, like Solemn Warning would be a good addition, or you can just run 3 Magical Mallet. We're also running Reinforcement of the Army. This is yet another copy of Gearfried in your opening hand, basically. Monster Reborn. Should speak, obviously, for itself. Dark Hole. Good way to stay on your feet. 2 copies of Book of Moon to help disrupt things. We're also running Giant Trunade. Make sure you don't get hit by Bottomless and Solemn Warning, stuff that's not terribly agreeable to this deck. And we're running 2 copies of this little known card, Double Cyclone. The reason is you got a lot of cards that are either chainable or which like to be destroyed by card effects. So this is basically an MST that gets you an additional effect that's good for you. And for the uninformed, Double Cyclone is a quick play spell that destroys one spell or trap you control and one they control. Obviously, it can't target itself. So we're running that over MST because it actually benefits you. And it's a heck of a surprise. 3 copies of Blast with Chain. It's an equip spell essentially, but it's a trap that gives 500 attack point boost, but when it's destroyed while face up, it will destroy one card of your choice. So obviously a great thing to flip the turn after with Gearfried. They think they're getting a good monster, like you leave them Bogart Knight in their hand, for instance. They think you're an idiot after you smoke grenaded them. They play Bogart, you chain this, blow him up, and you disrupt their fault roll. So stuff like that, very good. We are running our 1 copy of Mind Crush, obviously. 2 copies of Compulsory, great defense against all those big threats I was telling you about that this deck doesn't necessarily like. And we are also running 2 copies of Trap Stun. Once again, it's mainly to get around things like Solemn Warning and Bottomless. Alright, and that's the deck. And I'm not going to give you an extra deck because the only way you can actually even sync in the first place is if you Monster Reborn. And since this is your only out to syncing by Monster Reborning a tuner, it's not really worth it to give you a card-for-card extra deck. Basically just have all the good options on every star level, anything you might want to sync for if you were Monster Reborning, and that's about it. But other than that, that is the deck. It's a lot of fun for casual play. If you're daring, you could take it to a local. I would never recommend this for regionals. Gravekeepers can do the hand disruption thing probably better in the long run. But this is a lot more fun way to do it, and it's a lot more novel, and since a lot of people haven't seen it, well, I think it needs to be done. So anyway, that's the deck, and until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and enjoy.